Whew. This is ridiculously frustrating. I hate having to do this. But what can you do? I mean, let's wait for everyone to come back. Oh. The joys of streaming, hey? Stephen says, the third time lucky. Albert says, take 3. Jack says, all good now. I hope so. I really hope so. But some of these things, like when I get a new issue every week, like a brand new issue, never seen before, you get my frustration. I don't know why, like, there's only one other person who I know who has this much trouble with YouTube live streaming, and that's Benon from Gives a Minute. Okay. Let's bring up a new window. Not like that, come on. So that I can show you the web doc line. YouTube issue bingo, says Vandenbricks, indeed. I know Benon has ditched, pretty much, he hasn't entirely ditched YouTube streaming, but he has pretty much ditched YouTube streaming and gone to DLive because he says it's just a much better platform than YouTube, but I'll stick with YouTube for now. But I'll agree with him in that their streaming stuff is clunky at best. Anyway, so this is the web doc line right here. It used to be all of this red line plus this orange line plus this red line here. I was only walking from the start of the orange line until we got to Docklands, because everything beyond here is into the web doc port itself. You can't access that. Now, we did a bunch of walks on this day, and when was it? It was the 12th of December 2020. And so we had just walked the Spotswood Oil Sightings, which it wasn't the most exciting walk, but I'll show you photos after WebDoc. And so we actually went here, right here, and you see there's this, you probably can't see it, but there's a little white line across here, and it goes to here, which says Westgate Punt Ferry Service. Albert says so many lines that are no longer there, indeed. Ignored this one right here because that's unconfirmed. I need to do further research on that, but yeah, lots of stuff that is previously gone. Web doc line, it opened in the 60s and closed in the 80s, I believe. tracks remain in situ across all of this orange area for about 3 kilometres. And there's always a bit of talk of reopening it, but yeah, it's difficult because the place where it formerly ran into was Melbourne Yard. Melbourne Yard took up the entirety of what is now Docklands. You see, like, the line went right through what is now Marvel Stadium, and there was more tracks here. I've just sort of put one there, but like this whole area here up until what's now Harbour Esplanade was all tracks, all the way up here, all the way to North Melbourne and Eagate and into Dynon. And there was, of course, the sightings on Victoria Dock. And so, AH says, pretty sure WebDoc opened 1986, last train 1993, closed 1996. Oh, okay. My dates are very wrong then. I thought it was 60s, but apparently it was 86 was when it opened. All right, I'll trust your judgment. I'll trust your research. That my figures were purely off the top of my head. And obviously I was wrong. Anyway, Westgate Punt. That's that little thing there, that little square box. And Lightroom really doesn't like me playing videos. Like, as a program, it just doesn't really like. It's meant for photos, not videos. Although it technically supports them, it's not that great. So, okay, let's come back. This is the inside. I'll just show you the preview of these videos. You'll get to see all the footage one day when I put it into a proper video. But it's a very simple little vessel. Bit of steel and aluminium, I think. And this over here is the driver's console, I guess. And yeah, it takes you across to the other side. There it is going back the other way. And so yeah, it was, if we go to there, it's a very simple little operation, but if you're a pedestrian or a cyclist and you'd like to get across the Yarra River, you can't use the full Westgate, the actual Westgate Bridge, and so there's the Westgate Punt. And so yeah, once we got off the punt there, we walked to the start of it there, and then that's where that photo was taken. Looking at comments. So Stephen, I don't know if you missed it, but it was the 12th of December 2020. That was when I walked it with Max. And Marcus says, I remember when I was about 2 or 3, maybe 4, I think I saw an N class and N set coaches in the City Loop. You probably didn't see an N class or an N set. You might have seen an L class with Z cars, which look very similar, Z and S cars. the N cars, N sets, whatever you want to call them, were based off the design of Z cars, which were based off the design of S cars. Anyway, Vanderbrick says, web doc line is one I'd love to make in Roblox. Small and not too hard. Only issue is references for you. If you mean references for what it looks like, I mean, you can have all of my footage if you want it. Otherwise, walk it yourself. It's not very. It's a pretty easy one. I mean, I did it in, I want to say 2-3 hours, something like that. Trainman 90 says the old Queenscliff branch tracks still exist from Drysdale to Curlewis. Oh, okay. I'll have to update my map. Oh, hang on, no. Drysdale to, what am I thinking? Drysdale to Curlewis is the tourist railway, isn't it? Which I've got marked down. Marcus says, I remember when you was young and I saw a abandoned railway line and thought the train still ran on it. Okay. Oh, you were supposed to be behind. Okay. You see Sprouters, says Jack. Yes, indeed. Stephen says there was a rail tour with Alton and West Coast Railway liveries, steel carriages. And I've seen. Or am I back? Okay, I'm back. If it starts cutting, I'm going to say this now. If it starts cutting out really frequently again, I'm just going to end the live stream. If the live stream ends one more time, I'm not restarting it tonight. I'm going to try again tomorrow night. But hopefully we don't have to go there. Oh, okay, so people are saying Drysdale to Queenscliff is the tourist railway. Okay. That's right, I'm getting my directions mixed up. Curlewis to Drysdale is the disused section of the Queenscliff. Okay, thank you for that. I will update my map in due course. So, moving swiftly along, a small bridge going underneath the Westgate Bridge, which is quite big. Yeah, it looks like I didn't get too many photos, but got plenty of video. When I do rewalk this line with Les and whoever else turns up to the 5,000 Fogarty Avenue 5,000 subscriber meetup, I will be sure to take more photos. I can't zoom in here, but hopefully you can see there's a lizard there, sunbaking on the tracks. Now YouTube is telling me that my bitrate is too low. Let's increase it then. Just a little bit. this is a level crossing, obviously. What road is it? Let's find out. It's Wharf Road, where the track curves and goes along Todd Road, which turns into Lorimer Street. Okay. Now, I can't remember who I saw around this point, but if you're in the chat, mention who you are, because I bumped into someone who followed the channel about here, who was walking the line in the opposite direction to myself. But yeah. So who else? So who did we have on this hike? We had myself, the train man Max. We had Dylan here. We had Laura. I think that was it. Yeah, Wyatt didn't come. It's Laura's boyfriend. Damn, I should have taken more photos. Small crowd, but a good crowd. Yeah, there you go, sign saying Web Dock Rail Reserve. This land is reserved for future Web Dock Rail Link. Inquiries, Project Information Desk, 1-800-085-432. Just looking back along Todd Road. Is that still Wharf Street, or is that something different? Or is that Lorimer Street? That's possibly Lorimer Street. I would say that's the case. Yeah, this is an actual photo as opposed to a video thumbnail. So this bus shelter is served by routes 235, 237 and 606. And the tracks run alongside the bus, which is ironic in a way. It is Lorimer Street, okay. Oh yeah, AH137, it was you. I thought it might be you, but I wasn't entirely sure. And there was 4 of us, so there you go. Well, looking back along Lorimer Street, and I think there's an actual photo of that, which will be better. Oh, well, there it is. Is that a... Yeah, it is. So it's a high rail... what do you want to call it? Excavator? That's sitting abandoned on the line. So yeah, just continuing along Lorimer Street. Coming up to the Balti Bridge, and I can't zoom in, but I believe this is where the tracks end, just short of the Balti Bridge. Well, I'm surprised I didn't get a photo. Yeah, it looks like I didn't, but okay. Yeah, underneath the Balti Bridge, That there is the former coal sheds, Port of Melbourne coal sheds. Don't think it was ever served. I don't think it ever had a siding or anything like that from the Webb Dock line. But yeah, get some high rise being built. Yeah, so at this point, where are we? So yeah, the tracks end here just short of the Balti Bridge, and from here on in, there's nothing you can make out. It's all sort of redeveloped and whatnot. So instead of trying to directly trace the alignment, we decided to take one of these side streets and walk along River Esplanade, because it was a hot day and it was a much nicer walk. Don't be fooled, there's no tracks or remains of tracks or anything like that in the decking. It's just fancy timber design, whatever you want to call it. This, however, is significant. So obviously this is a modern pedestrian cycling bridge, and they call it the Webb Dock Bridge or something like that. Does it say here or what? It just says the Webb. Okay, they just call it the Webb Bridge. But look here at the modern bridge and look here at my red trace. You'll notice that, hey, that pier there looks quite substantial for a pedestrian bridge. And you'd be correct. It's way too substantial for a pedestrian bridge because it was designed to carry trains. It's not the original bridge decking, of course, or superstructure, but it is the original piers. So, fun fact. And that's what the bridge looks like on the inside. We're a bridge, and that brings us to about here, and that's where we finished that. Yeah, I think that was our final walk for the day. I think we had planned to try and do the inner circle line as well on that day, but then trains weren't running to Royal Park and neither were trams, so we gave up on that idea, and one person had to go home and then another person had to as well, and we called it a day. So we could have achieved a lot more in the day, but that's right. We can do. It's not like the inner circle line and outer circle line and that sort of thing are going to change much in the near future. So before I move on, some comments. Vandenbrick says, would be great to take a speeder down there. Sure. High rail excavator, yeah, that's what we're going to call it. Albert says, the line lasted just under 10 years. Has to be one of the shortest lived railways. Yeah. Will they ever reopen this line? says X the first. Hard to say. There's always talk of reopening it, with obviously a new connection. If we go here, it's hard because, I mean, the Westgate Bridge is quite tall, so that ships can pass underneath it. And so any bridge built downstream of Westgate Bridge would have to be of equal height. And the original upstream connection is no longer viable because the whole of Docklands is redeveloped the area to beyond recognition of its past self. So where could they reconnect it to? The only place I can sort of see is like around here, but it gets so complicated. All of this to say that I don't think it will be reopened. I don't think so. It's just too complicated. Stephen says they would need a new bridge near Appleton Dock. Yeah, I mean, Appleton Dock is there. A better connection would be probably to Victoria Dock, which is here. But as I said, you've got the height issue to contend with. And so, yeah, it would just be really not very feasible to construct such a large bridge for what is not that valuable of a line. Like, valuable, yes, not that valuable though. Not to the point where you build such a huge bridge. Have I cycled or travelled on both the inner circle and outer circle lines? No, I have not. I plan to walk them at some point. Don't know when that is going to be. Huge waste. Yeah, building them. It was built at the wrong time. It was just built at the wrong time. I would argue they should never have built it to begin with. But could you have foreseen in 1986 or whenever it opened that Docklands was going to be a thing? Hard to say. Looking back, you could say yes, but at the time, So I think we'll quickly go through Spotswood Oil Sightings because there's only, if it lets me click on it, there's only 36 photos and videos and whatnot. So that's a random way bridge that we found. So, God, I can never figure out where we are. So, the Spotswood Oil Sighting, and I mean, this was a whole system of sightings, I guess you'd call it. So we got off the train at Spotswood itself, and there's a little bit of abandoned track remaining from the down end of Spotswood Station along Hall Street, and there's a tiny bit remaining in here, but I don't know if we saw it. I mean, we must have, but anyway. So the main Spotswood oil sighting was this line here. Now, there was a bit of works going on here, so I couldn't access all the way out to here, but I'm pretty sure in theory you can. I sort of had to stop just before the Westgate Bridge and go back to the punt. So yeah, main Spotswood oil sighting was there, but you had at one point in time this track here, which went to the pumping station, the old Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works pumping station, which is now part of Science Works if you've ever been there. And it also served the Australian glass manufacturers. The Spotswood pumping station part closed long before the AGM sighting did. And you also had this little branch which went to Caltex. You had this little bit which was just another oil wharf. They called that one Newport Oil Wharf as opposed to this one, which was Spotswood. Why they had two in such a close area, I don't know, probably different companies. This big circle thing, which was, of course, the old Newport power station. Can I switch to satellite? Yeah, so you can see this right here is the modern Newport power station. This is what is referred to as Newport D. And you had this siding which cuts right through the middle of it. But this area was the former site of Newport A, I believe. And I think this athletics track was Newport B. And then Newport C was on the site of what is now Newport D. And that Newport D was constructed in the 80s, I believe. It's a gas-fired power plant as opposed to the original Newport A, which was black coal-fired, as opposed to the Latrobe Valley brown coal power plants. Newport Power Station, Newport A, was originally built by the Victorian Railways in order to cater for its new-fangled electrification project. And from memory, it output 25 kilovolts at 25 hertz or 20 hertz, something like that. It was not the biggest in terms of power output, but I believe at the time that it was running, they claimed that it was the largest power station in terms of physical area in the southern hemisphere. So there you go. So looking at the actual photos, so that is a bit of track along Hall Street. There's a better view. That's a shocking photo. That's better. You can see Laura and Max in front of Laura, maybe. Walking the tracks along Hall Street. And you can see here that they just sort of start to curve off. mean, it's a bit hard to see, but just trust me. And then they would have headed into this area, which is now all fenced off. You can see there's some concrete bases for old stanchions, and you can even spot a sleeper or two in the ground if you look hard enough. Yeah, so obviously being fenced off, we couldn't access any of this alignment as much as we would like to. So we just walked down Burley Street. That's the Newport D power station. Quite a monolith, Newport D. It was controversial when it was being built, and I don't think we'll see another power station. When Newport D retires, which my guess is, my feeling is that it will retire early, probably mid-2030s, something like that. I don't see it, I don't see any new sort of power stations being built that close to the city. I mean, of course, once upon a time there was a power station in Spencer Street, but these days power stations like to be kept away from the city. Although this is a little bit blurry, you can sort of see why the bridges need to be so high, such that these large container ships can get underneath them. And I believe that the bridge is the main limiting factor on the Westgate Bridge is the main limiting factor on the size of the maximum size of ships which can come into the Port of Melbourne. So it might be the case in the future that the Port of Melbourne, as it stands currently, it would be silly to rebuild the Westgate Bridge. So the ports would be shifted. The new Westgate Tunnel, whatever, it couldn't take over the capacity of the bridge by the time the bridge seriously needed to be dealt with in some way. But yeah, just looking back, that is the pumping station, or the outside of it. And that sort of area is the part which I wanted to walk, I'm pretty sure, but I couldn't access. So I think that was just us turning back. Looking at comments before I move on. X the first says, the Werribee line has the biggest of abandoned stations. You mean the most the greatest number of abandoned stations? I'd have to fact check you on that. Marcus says you saw an Extrapolis at Huntingdale. Yeah, they've been storing a couple of extrapolis in Pakenham Yard, I believe. Stephen says the loop probably had the tightest curves, which is why VR modified T-Class 060 locos with former W-Class loco tenders, number 92 and 94. 94 is preserved at the Newport Railway Museum. There you go. We'll be sad to see Newport D close. I will miss the chimney. Yeah, well, you've still got like 10 years probably at least. 10 or 15 years, something like that. Although it's 10 p.m, we're over 10 p.m, we spent half the time buggerising around with stupid internet issues, and since we seem to be running relatively okay now, I will continue on until 10:30. So, what's next? Done Spotswood. Yan Yan Tramway, I guess I'll briefly show some stuff from here, but it's not that exciting. Where are we? The map. So Yan Yan Tramway was built before the railway in like 1860s. Only operated for a few years, but this whole pink line here, so it started at the Carlton Gardens, went all the way to Yan Yan Reservoir. I didn't walk the whole thing because Nicholson Street is a modern electric tramway now. So I went up by tram along, I think I went up Brunswick Street because I thought at the time that was where the railway ran, or the tramway I should say ran, but I've since, yeah, there's Brunswick Street there. I've since discovered that no, it actually ran down Nicholson Street past the Tramway Hotel, which was named after this tramway, not that tramway or that tramway. Yeah, and so it's pretty walkable, to be honest. Like, I got the tram from Brunswick Street as far as Preston, and then walked the rest of the way from Preston to Yan Yan. Now, I took bugger all photos, and I need to go back and take some more photos because I'm doing a presentation to the Light Railways Research Society about my walk on this alignment. I'll be doing that presentation in December, so hopefully I can get out and get some photos of it. But I took a few. I'll show the photos. I'll show purely the photos. Like, look, that's an old Nissen hut. Old median strip that the tramway ran down. There's James. You'll recognise James as a regular hike participant of mine, or friend of mine, trying to drive this little kiddie toy car that clearly is about half the size of him. And so who did we have on this hike? We had Laura, Wyatt, one of their friends, myself, Les and his girlfriend turned up for part of it. Looks like she's pushing him around on the trolley while he's filming it. That's a classic photo. yeah, I think we all got to turn in the trolley. But it slowed us down. Like, if you're going to do this walk yourself and you find the trolley, leave the trolley. I think we returned it to a Coles or whatever, or is it a Bunnings trolley? I think it's a Bunnings trolley, isn't it? So we did return it to a Bunnings, but Les did. Yeah, I don't recommend you pick up the trolley because it'll just slow you down significantly. Like, we were tracking on time or ahead of time until we picked up the trolley, and then we lost heaps of time. Hawkstow station on the Mernda line. Yeah, that's about it. I'll briefly show, I said I wouldn't show videos or anything, but this is the old Mernda flume, and we got here when it was getting a bit dark, but and that was where Les ditched us. I think he joined us at Preston Macca's, that's right, and ditched us at the Mernda flume because for some strange reason he had decided that night he was going to camp in Benalla. That's like a 3-hour drive. Don't ask me why. But there's Mernda Station. Do visit Mernda Flume. It's I'll show you where it is on the map. So there's Mernda Station there. And so the flume is just crossing the Plenty River right there. Obviously it's locked with a gate, so we had to climb around the outside. I didn't really prepare my hike participants for that. Some of them were a bit unsure and wanted to. The only other way to get around it would be to walk pretty much north as far as Bridge Inn Road, and then cross on Bridge Inn Road and meet up with the rest of us when we crossed Bridge Inn Road. Fun hike, very fun hike. But yeah. Oh yeah, this was a mushroom farm, I think, which was where was it? I think it was about here. Something like that. It was raining, and we were like, we're going to have to approach the security guard and tell him, hey, can we just walk along this section, and he said, yeah, you can. And we had a good chat to him and sheltered from the rain a bit because it started raining at that point. And Mernda Station, going on the way home, and there was some. I think we got to the station, and we could just typical Mernda style. We could hear some person who was clearly on drugs just throwing a massive hissy fit while being detained by the PSOs. They were no match for the PSOs. Like, there was 6 or 7 PSOs versus this one crazy drug addict, but still, it created quite a racket, let's just say that. Yeah, that's all I'm going to show for the tramway, but yeah, the alignment is very walkable. As far as it all goes, yeah, very walkable. James says dairy, I'm getting goosebumps. Indeed. X says, I used to see the new high capacity train at Williamstown. Indeed. Okay, what's next? Oh, Maribyrnong goods line. This is a good one to show. So I think, yeah, I've sort of, so there's 2 photos from 2 different dates in this set. First was the 22nd of November, the first date, and the other date was the 12th of December, 2020. Because I went there to sort of, I just happened to be in the area. And so I photographed a lot of the tracks. This is the Yule Street sightings. So if we go look at the map for reference, where are we? Over here. So that photo is taken from about there, looking south. I do have photos of those tracks there, of the Yule Street sightings. Yeah. And this whole area was being dug up for the Westgate Tunnel, the bridge for the Westgate Tunnel, ironically enough. And just recently, a lot of these tracks have been ripped up because they are redeveloping the whole area beside the river and ripping up the tracks, which I think is a bit unfortunate, but oh well, what can you do? I'm glad I got the photos of it before it all got ripped up. The weather was a bit foul, but yeah, I'm glad that I got it. And yeah, I remember I was driving around on this first date on the 22nd, and I thought that the tracks sort of ended, but then I came across here, which is here. It's right around here, Joseph Road. So if you drive into Joseph Road, and then I discovered that although you can see a piece of rail there on the left, and so at first I saw that and I thought, oh, that's where the alignment is. Look, you can see a bunch of trees in a row, which is often a sign of that's where an old alignment was. And then I saw the tracks just disappeared and I thought, okay, that's the end. There's no more tracks. But then I looked a bit closer and I looked at my map and I was like, things aren't lining up. And then you can't see it in that photo, but trust me that hidden behind all that grass is the true alignment with tracks. Does it still remain today, to this very day? I couldn't tell you for sure. Footscray is outside of my 10-kilometre radius, so cannot go there right now, but I did manage to drive my car all the way down beside the tracks, as you can see there. Much to the surprise of some walkers in the area. But I thought it was cool that I could drive my car beside the railway line. Such as the things that you can do with a Subaru Outback. Although having said that, you could travel, like, look, it's pretty compact dirt and stuff. You could travel down there in any car. Oh yeah, right there, that's the railhead. It's really buried underneath that grass, but that's at the Joseph Street point. A bit of ballast, velocity going past on the modern tracks. And so this is on the 12th of December now. When the weather was much better and we had a much better view of a lot of the tracks. But even so, like, even, what, like 3 weeks, call it? And the work was already starting, and yeah, the part which went under the bridge, under the Bunbury Street Bridge, was it had been ripped up, I believe. So yeah. For anyone not in Melbourne, okay, so it hadn't quite been ripped up, but it was definitely in the process of being ripped up, and you can just see that the track is still there. That bridge is definitely still in use. It carries all standard gauge traffic into Melbourne, plus broad gauge freight. And you can see that you managed to see a freight train, or it looks like it's just shunting, because the NR class is long end leading. It might not be shunting, but it's usually the case. Yeah, you can see, like, the line is really in the process of being totally ripped up. If this area is within your 10-kilometre radius, I suggest that you go and take a look, see what's going on. See if there's any parts which still remain. Like, surely these areas which have already sort of had good development will still have tracks. I would think so. And why they couldn't have just done the same thing, but for the part under the Maribyrnong River Bridge, I'm not sure. Westgate Tunnel banner. And that's as far as we could get. So, yeah, which It's possibly even less than I could get the previous time. Yeah, so that's at least all of the day hikes that I did in 2020. It's 10:30, so I'm going to wrap the stream up. Are you still enjoying this type of content? Do you want a part 5 where I go into my photos from the, what would it be? It would be the Mornington line and Healesville. I can't think of any other lines that I've walked off the top of my head, but do you want a part 5, or do you want to move on to another topic in 2 weeks' time? Or I could, there's the, what do you call it, Upfield Somerton link. I could show photos from that. Got a few votes for part 5 already. And look, I'll be real with you, there's not a whole lot of Healesville that I got. It was really just Healesville to Tarrawarra. But I can get you Healesville to Tarrawarra. Yeah, looks like everyone's keen for part 5. Looks like that's what we'll be doing 2 weeks' time. I'm happy if you're happy. But, oh yeah, we could, I see Stephen's mentioned the Redden line. It's definitely not a hike, but I could definitely show photos of it. Although it's probably not my priority. Oh, there's quite a few comments that I've missed. So the train man says, just catching up on the stream now. Was a great day walking, mate. Indeed. MarTV says hello. Trainman says cracking stuff, Floyd, cracking stuff as always, Floyd. Not a bad thumbnail too, if I'd say so myself. Indeed, Max was in the thumbnail. Roderick Smith says, good evening, I'm late. How many lines have I missed? I've travelled right to the buffers at Somerville Road. How many lines did you miss? You would have missed Spotswood Oil Sightings. You would have missed Yan Yean Tramway. Web Doc. Yeah. Jax's Sproutters. Stephen says, Floyd and I went on the Redden line in Ballarat not too long ago, and recently the remains of the siding across Latrobe Street, including some old rail, was being cleared and ripped up. Yes, we drove as much as we could and took some photos along the way. The Redden line is here. I believe all of this part has been ripped up. So, yeah, Roderick says, many viewers will be unaware that concrete bridge carrying Footscray Road is named Shepherd Bridge and dates from 1964. It replaced a swing bridge. There you go. Interesting fact, says Stephen. Jack says, I walked along the Redden line from Wendouree to Redden on the 1st of August, which took me 5 hours to walk. I'm lucky I walked the Latrobe Street Stone Park Drive section when I did. Yeah, very cool. Vandenbrick says, though, another topic which could be interesting in maybe 4 weeks, model trains. I don't have too much to talk about with model trains, but could talk about something maybe. Jack says, why did you and the gang walk on the Healesville to Tarrawarra section of the Healesville line? Well, we were intending on walking the entire thing, but then, and Les did, but the short story is that myself and everyone else, apart from Les, well, in fact, even Les, we all came severely underdressed for the occasion. It started out very warm in the day, and we just looked at the maximum temperature for the day and was like, oh yeah, it'll be a nice day, shorts and t-shirt type thing. And then turns out that indeed the maximum temperature was in the morning, not in the afternoon, and it was we were just underdressed. We got cold. Les continued on. I didn't. I kind of wish I did continue on, because obviously now Lilydale to Yarra Glen is a rail trail, or it's becoming a rail trail. The tracks have been ripped up at least. So I wish that I walked it in a way, but I also don't regret the decision to pull out, because I was absolutely freezing. I should have come better prepared. Better dressed, I should say, for the occasion. Looking at some more comments. Trainman says, probably a frequent question, but any chance I could get a hold of any photos from the hiking day? That hiking day, no worries or not. Of course you can get access to the photos. I've got no problem with sharing any of my photos. I'm just going to look, where was it, WebDoc? How many photos do I have? Let me tell you. I've got 23 photos. Tell me how you'd like them sent to you. You can most definitely have hold of the photos. That goes for anyone, to be honest. Like, you want some of my photos, just ask. And final comment, Marcus says, I remember when I was young, I thought that the Maribyrnong goods line had passenger trains. Don't know when that was, but it was when I thought Thomas the Tank was real. Okay. Well, Thomas the Tank is based in reality. Let's just say that. So you weren't entirely wrong. But yeah. AussieTrainman@gmail.com. There you go. I don't know how you would get them to me, but you take some cracking images. Well, thank you. I'm not going to... This one has had a bit of processing done, very light processing. the rest of them have not. I wish I took more photos, but I'll just export them as a big batch and figure out whether they can all fit in an email or what. They should be able to. Yeah, okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully 2 weeks' time we are glitch free, but you know these streams, there's no way I can guarantee that. I can only hope. But restarting, maybe if in preparation I just restart everything. I restarted my camera and my computer and my software in preparation for tonight, but not my internet, so maybe I'll do that next week as well. And God help us if we have more issues. Final comments that I said. Vanderbilt says, actually I'm doing a remake of my Hillsville line map just to Tarawara, so I may PM you on Facebook later about some images. Cool. Yeah, Max, I'll figure out a way to get them to you. If they don't work in email, I can do them in 2 batches, or I can even do them on Dropbox or something like that. There'll be a way for sure. And Jack, you wonder if Les is watching. I don't think he's watching tonight, otherwise he would have piped up. He knew that I was streaming, but he decided not to join because I believe he's working on a video for his channel. And it's not South Gippsland Part 9, before you ask. It's a hoarder's house, but then I think he's going to work on Part 9 after that. Final goodbyes. Thanks for watching. See you in 2 weeks' time, 9 PM Friday night as usual. Thanks. Bye-bye.